Well, have the Arizona Diamondbacks lost another key player for a significant amount of time? And how did I end up surviving this weekend? I have no idea. But we do have Dalton Feely here to stop by, help me out, maybe give a little relief appearance for your old boy here after a long weekend, and talk about not only the Diamondbacks losing AJ Puk, but also them avoiding getting swept by the Cubs. All this in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome to another edition of the PHNX Dbacks podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as a man about town in Las Vegas who causes an entire room of people to all drink espresso martinis. I am joined, of course, by my guy on the ones and twos, the one and only Kevin Thomas, aka Large Intimate. This was the most appropriate weekend for you to have a nickname, having it be WrestleMania weekend. How you doing, buddy?
Doing better now that Dominic Mysterio is our Intercontinental Champion.
God bless. God bless.
Doing great. Io Sky retains.
Yep. Yeah,
extremely happy.
It was good. It was a good show. And then you also have John Cena and his hair transplants winning the championship, his 17th. But we are not here to talk about that today. We are here to talk about snake ball. I know you guys, at least some of you, are here to talk about baseball. Others are here to talk about a little wrestling action. But this podcast is presented to you by Bet365 and our friends over at Game Time. Go over to Bet365. Use that code of PHNX365 when you sign up. You'll get yourself some bonus bets. And then go to Game Time, get yourself some tickets. You'll get $20 off your first order using our code of PHNX. Like I said, I can't do it alone. Elizabeth says JJ looks hungover. There's a good chance that I might just be, I might be rubbing off on him a little bit. I did not bring him to Las Vegas with me. He is too innocent for that. But did have myself a great time there, and I will talk a little bit later about all the reasons why WrestleMania is one of the only things you can go to be in the town of the event and not actually go to the event and still have a great time. Welcome in to all of you guys. Great to see you guys here. We have ourselves, of course, a relief pitcher due to the lack of stamina on my part. I might have some cramping going on myself, so we are going to bring in the one and only Dalton Feely. Dalton, how are you, buddy? Good to see you.
Oh, ready to go.
He's ready. He's warmed up. He was throwing in the bullpen. He was hitting 96. He's ready to go. And they might need you, sir, with the unfortunate situation that Diamondbacks are going through right now. They made an absolute flurry of roster moves after that weird comeback loss that they had on Friday against the Chicago Cubs. And it was something that was kind of a welcomed sight for a lot of Arizona Diamondbacks fans. However, snuck in there was a very problematic situation. I think we have a graphic of the roster moves, but we got notification that Drey Jameson had been recalled from AAA Reno and that the Diamondbacks had selected the contracts of JP, Feyereisen, and Juan Morillo. And then they optioned to Reno following that game, Joe Mantiply and Bryce Jarvis. But then was this problematic note down here that AJ Puk had been placed on the 15-day IL with left elbow inflammation, retroactive to April 18th. They also designated Greg Kessinger for assignment. First part, if you were reading down that list slowly, the first part of that was all things that I think Diamondbacks fans were excited to see a little bit, just a change there in the bullpen, especially considering the performances by Mantiply and Bryce Jarvis, right? Just to get some fresh arms in the pen. But now we find out that AJ Puk is on the IL with the dreaded left elbow inflammation, simply based on the fact that that is a diagnosis that usually leads us down a path to Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, and he talked, AJ Puk, that is, talked to Jody Jackson once getting the diagnosis of the inflammation in his elbow. He's had Tommy John in the past, and he knows that there are very similar issues with the elbow. when you have an inflammation, it's the first sign of something serious could arise from it. Doesn't mean it will, doesn't mean it's going to be Tommy John, but it is something to take care of in the meantime. Do not rush back. Make sure you get the proper treatment. The Diamondbacks will make sure he gets his rest and make sure the inflammation does not continue after that a lot of time to rest. We need AJ Puk, because if Puk is out, Mantiply got optioned. There is one lefty in the pen right now, and that's Jalen Beeks, who we got out of the parking lot, basically, which is, if you said this 3 weeks ago, you'd be like, what the hell happened to the Diamondbacks bullpen? So hopefully, fingers crossed, AJ Puk's elbow is fine. I will donate it if he needs it, but we need Puk back if he can.
Okay. Well, we got a donation here from Dalton, so we at least know that we could give him a new arm. But yeah, no, I mean, this isn't great, like you said. I mean, we know that Joe Mantiply obviously got sent down, one of their lefties. Now they're losing Puk. The Diamondbacks don't really have a ton of options here when it comes to that. All the guys that they called up are all righties. Drey Jameson is righty. Feyereisen is righty. I think I'm saying his name right. I've tried with that one. And then Juan Morillo is a righty as well. But yeah, no, I mean, those guys were killing it in Reno. We had actually just talked on Friday's episode about how good Jameson and JP were doing down there. We always love a good Drey day around these parts. And of course, he was my dark horse selection to not only make the bullpen this year, but to eventually end up being the closer. And it would not be out of the realm of possibility to see him get some opportunities there in the ninth inning as the season progresses here.
Yeah, for sure. And especially if Martinez is also banged up too with some soreness right now. Puk being also a closer in that role with Martinez, both of them being banged up. Ginkel was the third person during spring training in that closer race, and he's been hurt the entire season, has not made his 2025 debut. So the high leverage guys have been banged up to start. Drey Jameson was getting a feel and a touch of it in 2023 prior to him getting hurt. I think the biggest question for Drey Jameson really will be his role in the future of this Diamondbacks bullpen. We remember when he first came up, he was a starter, and they're also using him as a long reliever. They're mixing him back and forth. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if Torey and the gang uses him in high leverage situations with Martinez right now still banged up with some soreness, Puk being on the IL, Ginkel being on the IL, Ryan Thompson not being the 2023 Ryan Thompson that we know. I think it would be a great learning experience for Drey Jameson, and I think he kind of likes these moments, right? I think we know that Drey loves the lights shining on him. He does. He loves that. So let him pitch in the big moments as long as he can stay here. Don't go too crazy under the bright lights. I think he could really thrive in a high leverage role.
Drey loves that role. Also, Justin Martinez kind of seemed to embrace that role. He seemed very, very much like a guy that loved the spotlight, loved being in those big moments. Like you said, shut down with some arm fatigue. There's been some discussion. Our guy Jack Summers from over at Sports Illustrated and Snakes Territory, give them a shout out, was very much thinking that this might be dead arm. And we got like a little explanation there for what dead arm actually is. It's nothing serious. It's no actual physical injury, but it's more about the fact that Justin Martinez's usage has led to him now kind of having this fatigue in his arm, having kind of like a lethargy in his arm, right? And what's interesting about this is this bullpen situation that a lot of people wanted Torey to continue to go to these guys, and now you have AJ Puk with elbow inflammation, and you have Justin Martinez already experiencing dead arm or arm fatigue this season, and it's again part of the reason why the bullpen was more of a problem due to the roster construction rather than usage, because if a guy is in the Diamondbacks bullpen, he has to be used. Torey cannot avoid using guys, because if he does, then that involves him putting all of that all those extra innings on someone else's arm. And then, you end up getting this situation where two of your best arms now are experiencing some sort of injury.
Yeah, I don't know if this was an avoidable situation with the Diamondbacks bullpen. Looking through the Diamondbacks current bullpen, whether guys were optioned or started the season, of guys who have pitched at least 5 games, Justin Martinez has the fewest innings of this bullpen so far. So it's not like Torrey's used Justin Martinez a lot to begin the season. It's been in those high leverage situations late in games. I believe it was Trevor May who's explained in the past dead arm
you're right.
really elaborately.
Great explanation from Trevor May on that.
Absolutely. And it was usually you get dead arm during spring training or the dog days of summer, I believe is exactly what he
middle
said.
of the season.
Right, in the middle of the season. And in terms of Justin Martinez's injury, obviously we're very close to the regular season. I'm curious, he's just still trying to work out all the kinks mechanically, getting his body in 162 shape. Mind you, Justin Martinez is a young man. This is going to be his second full big season in the pros. He's probably still growing into his body too, being completely honest. So I think that also plays a little bit of a role. It's not natural for a guy to throw a 102 mile per hour fastball and then a 92 mile per hour splitter. So
92. 99 mile an hour splitter there, pal. Try that.
In 2026, maybe. I don't know. But I do think all of this plays into one big role of why he's got the dead arm. The biggest thing now is for the Diamondbacks, again, like I alluded to for AJ Puk, is to manage him to where he's not going to have a severe injury off of this dead arm or off of this soreness, because he's going to play a big role. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. If it wasn't really for Shelby Miller and Jalen Dbacks, this Diamondbacks bullpen would be in a much worse spot. So they've played a fantastic job. They've combined for 23 innings, and they've allowed just 1 earned run. That's amazing for these two.
It's amazing.
In the role. No Ginkle, too. So.
No. And like you said, the fact that they were added so late into the season, right? Like, obviously, it was due to injuries. It was due to need. Shelby Miller had impressed during spring training, so that was kind of more of – it made sense. Shelby Miller was going to find his way into the bullpen, and he has exceeded expectations beyond what you would have ever dreamed he could have done for this team. And, again, it's now managing that so that you don't put too much work on him. But he is a guy that has proven so far that he could be lights out in those high leverage situations. You also have, like you said, Jalen Dbacks, a guy who Mike Hazen said he simply added due to the fact that opportunity was there. They knew that they were going to have some shortcomings in their bullpen, and they added him right before opening day, mostly because, as Hayes said, that it was going to be much more difficult to add a guy like that after opening day. Guys sign their minor league contracts. They have to get their season figured out. They're not going to sit around once opening day comes and goes and still kind of be available on the market. They need to get going, right? So the Diamondbacks did a great job at assessing talent and picking those guys up, and would absolutely be lost this season without those 2 additions. We would have expedited maybe a lot of these call-ups. We probably would have seen Drey Jameson get called up earlier, or maybe never even sent to Reno if they didn't have both Shelby Miller and Jalen Dbacks just due to need. And now, I mean, it's not like I'm not trying to look too much into this, but I can't help but wonder if AJ Puk's lack of success this year has been maybe attributed to this injury kind of being something that's progressed a little bit as the season's gone on. It's not like Puk has been bad for this team, but he definitely hasn't been the AJ Puk that he was last season.
I think you're 100% right. And I had mentioned it, I think it was the Miami game, and I don't remember which game it was, where he gives up the run to make it a 6-2 ball game. And then I think it's in the 8th inning. But anywho, I'd mentioned onto X, Twitter, whatever the folks call it nowadays, that app.
That app. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it that app.
That app, the little expert or whatever. I was like, AJ Puk's been kind of on a slow start a little bit. Is there any? I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but just through the eye test, I was like, something doesn't look 100%. And Steve Meister from the Diamondbacks pre and post, who is a fantastic dude, does a great job covering the Diamondbacks, said he sent me a picture of the Savant on as a reply and said, he's not at the 100 percentile on everything like he was last year for the Diamondbacks, but he's still pitching at a high level in comparison to the rest of the league. Right. And to that, I said, I completely agree. I know he's still pitching very well. It doesn't feel like AJ Puk did last year. And I know that was elite, and I understand it was elite, but something didn't look right. And I think we now have the answer, sadly, with it being some elbow inflammation that was causing maybe Puk being a 90% rather than 100% that we saw from last year.
Right. And we get spoiled really quickly, right? It makes me think of Andrew Saalfrank and Ryan Thompson when they joined this team in 2023. We couldn't stop asking the question about Thompson, our guy Tea Time. Where did this guy come from? How did we pick him up off of the trash heap, considering that if you even looked at his performances with Tampa Bay, his ERA was so high simply because he had two bad outings, but he came over to this team and was lights out for a stretch there. And then honestly comes back down to earth, in 2024, and this season hasn't been the outstanding version that we saw back in 2023. But it's like that's more of the anomaly, right? The sometimes the fact that they have those great seasons or those great stretches, those are the actual like freak occurrences, when in reality, a lot of pitchers are more of a, especially relievers, more of a 3-4 ERA guy. Excuse me.
Yeah. I think that's fair, but the only argument I would make against that is in terms of puck style, he is swing and miss, and I think those guys are less volatile than the Ryan Thompsons of the world that induce contact, because when you're punching tickets, there's not going to be any mistakes behind you. There's no bad luck that can occur. You're getting swings and misses. Where Ryan Thompson, you can minimize the hard contact, but balls can still be put in place, and BABIP luck can come into it. So I think for Ryan Thompson, for sure, that could have been in 2023. I don't want to call it a fluke, but it could have been like a quote unquote Cinderella run. But for AJ Puk, I truly believe the end of 2024 was as close to a version of what we're going to get. Maybe the maxed out version, but I think he is that type of pitcher when he's coming out of the pen.
Yep. Elise, a.k.a. Mike Hazen in the chat, says, everyone is forgetting about how bad Saul Frank was last season before he was suspended. He isn't the answer, especially after he's been out for an extended period of time. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was just bringing Saul Frank up myself as an example of a guy who, again, had a freakishly good stretch for this team when they were here or when they joined the team, and then, eventually comes back down to earth for sure. But we have way more to discuss, including that series against the Chicago Cubs, what went wrong, what eventually kind of went right there, and how they were able to win the finale and avoid being swept. We're doing all that on the other side of this break. Dalton, don't you go anywhere. Rest of you don't go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback show. We'll be right back. Well, of course, it is already hot here. Let me tell you, I rode in the backseat of a car on my way here from Las Vegas, and I was dying. And of course, that means summer is here in Arizona. You can make sure that you protect yourself from the sun and extend your outdoor living space with our friends at All Pro Shade Concepts. They can help you go be like Espo. Get yourself some amazing roll-down shades that can help keep your patio and your home up to 20 degrees cooler, especially if your home faces that sun, that burning, that setting sun, or sometimes in the morning, that rising sun. Can keep your house, keep yourselves cooler, and they can also fix and replace most older, outdated patio shades or motorized awnings. So, of course, check them out if you want to update what you currently have. They are the most trusted local shade company, voted #1 by Ranking Arizona for patio shades in 2024. They've been in business right here in the Valley for 20 years, and they are licensed, bonded, and insured. So call them for a free estimate right now. You can call them at 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com now to schedule your free estimate. And let me tell you, one thing I realized from let me talk to you. One thing I realized from this weekend is I'm old and I don't recover from a night of staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning as well as I used to. But with our friends at Timeline, we can all have a little bit more energy. We can all have our cells in our body work better. I'm no science guy. I can't explain it. They can explain it to you. But they have their proprietary Midopure ingredient in their products, and the benefits of that include increased strength, energy, and endurance, something I very much needed this weekend in Las Vegas. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. This guy right here. So make sure you check out what they have to offer. Midopure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without any change in exercises. That's a win right there. So right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of Midopure. Go to timeline.com/PHNX to get started today. That's timeline.com/PHNX. Code at checkout is PHNX. All right, let's get Dalton back in here. Dalton, obviously not the desired results this weekend. We talked a lot actually, about that game on Friday, and obviously how things didn't go their way, how Torrey was kind of left in that position to go to Joe Mantiply and Bryce Jarvis late that ended up giving the lead back to the Cubs. What was your takeaway from that whole situation and obviously, what ended up happening?
My big takeaway was the picture I posted on Friday that I wanted to jump out a window and
Yeah, that's
yeah,
accurate.
go. Yeah, I was not
Give
feeling
me a
great.
reason to live. I don't have one, basically, at that point, is really where it's at.
Yeah, it was not. I wasn't feeling great after it. I will say I posted that onto social media, and then right away, at John Boy Media, the social media, one of the whoever's on shift messaged me saying, "Hey, can we post?" I'm like, "Yes, you can enjoy my pain. That's
Please,
hilarious." I thought it was
please.
funny. That's why I posted it. Go have fun with my misery. But that game was that's going to be the game of the year. And I don't know why it's always the Cubs. We did this last year versus the Cubs, and I think in April it was like a 12-11 game in Arizona. This year happens to be in Wrigley. Um, it's just crazy to become the third team ever to score 10 runs in an inning and lose the game.
Right,
And
right.
we've been called the answer backs over the last couple of years, and they really proved it because through 7 innings, that offense had done absolutely nothing whatsoever versus Colin Ray and Caleb Fieldbar. So I give the Cubs credit to holding on through 7, making it a 7-1 game. I thought when they scored 5 in the 7th, that was it. But then they
Yeah,
scored 10 runs. They
yeah,
scored 10 runs, and I'm back. I'm like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I'm back. The biggest thing I would say I took, Torrey's plan went combusted when Ryan Nelson struggled in the 7th inning because
Right.
I
Exactly.
believe the plan was
You knew what he was going to do. He was going to Ryan Nelson straight to Shelby Miller. That was what he was supposed to do. Ryan Nelson was supposed to eat up 2.5, 3 innings, and it didn't happen, right? I mean, and I agree with you. Like, I definitely understand Joe Mantiply getting the reaction from fans that he got, and I understand the frustration with both him and Bryce Jarvis, but like you said, man, I mean, Ryan Nelson gave up a whole lot of runs that put this game out of reach for this team. And at that point, it was pretty much over based on how poorly he pitched. He didn't have control over the fastball, which is, if he doesn't, I don't know if there's much Ryan Nelson can do on the mound, right? But it was just, yeah, it was like a combined team, you know, effort as far as the bullpen is concerned. It was everybody involved. And it just didn't work out. It is reminiscent, though, of that Brewers game at the end of the season last year. It's reminiscent of a lot of other situations where you don't, you have a hard time getting past that loss. There's other losses that occur throughout the season that you're like, meh, I forgot that game happened. Maybe if I bring it up, it might make you a little mad. Oh, remember when, so and so botched the ground ball at the end and they end up losing, those, whatever. But it's games like this that really stick with you, especially because of the emotional roller coaster we all went on over the course of that game. But the Diamondbacks did the one thing that we said that they had to do on Friday. They made those roster moves. They bring in some fresh arms. And honestly, from that point, we see the relief pitching ERA give up 0 runs over the next 2 games. 11 runs on Friday, 0 runs over the next two games by the bullpen. So, I mean, this series with the Cubs did not go the way they wanted it to, but they do avoid the sweep by winning on Sunday. And the Diamondbacks are 5-2 this season in series finale games. They've won their last 4 in a row. And yeah, again, there's the fact that I felt like it was a little different last year. I felt like the Diamondbacks lost a lot of series finales, especially when they would go up ahead in the series 2 games. So it's good to see that. Merrill Kelly did leave Sunday's game with cramps after a pretty dumb weather delay that they started the game and then immediately stopped it after the first, top of the first and 1/3 of an inning in the first. But I mean, the Diamondbacks still get the job done, and hopefully Merrill Kelly doesn't have any lingering effects because he has really gotten things back on track this season and is once again becoming the Diamondbacks' most consistent pitcher.
The mainstay, yeah. Merrill, I think he retired the last 16 batters he faced prior to that Suzuki at bat where he threw the first pitch and then the cramping really started acting. And I give credit to Jose Herrera. Like I know we give him some flack in the Diamondbacks community about his hitting ability, but he's a catcher. He's a pitcher's catcher, man. He recognized that something wasn't right with Merrill right away, and he's like, "Hey, let's get our guy Merrill checked out here. Something's not right."
Yes.
I can tell right
yes.
away. The thing I do want to say about Merrill that scares me a hair, he's had cramping issues over the last few years, and it's usually in the summer during Arizona when it's 100, 110, where you guys know way better than I will in terms of that Arizona heat, where he's had issues at home, the jerseys. something with the starts where he just doesn't, his muscles act up and he starts cramping. I'm wondering, do they do something to change his routine where he's getting more electrolytes, a banana? Remember Kawasaki like a decade ago, don't cramp, eat your bananas before, like during the start. I don't know, but this has become a consistent issue now, both at home and on the road with Merrill cramping. And when it happened luckily late enough in the game where the Diamondbacks bullpen wasn't taxed. But think if this happens earlier in the game, they're going to need, like, let's say it happens in the third inning, they would have needed like 6 to 7 innings out of a taxed bullpen that was down arms due to injury already. So luckily Merrill was able to make it through and dominate, but hopefully the cramping issues can subside throughout the season and they figure out how to treat it properly.
By the way, I remember last year when Merrill had a cramping issue in a game, and it was asked about that, basically the same thing you brought up. All I'll say is in those moments, that's when a baseball manager can make you feel really dumb, just because they were like, yeah, we've tried a million things, and then like kind of started running through the list, and you're like, well, yeah, of course you have. I'm silly to even have thought that. But right, when you see a guy consistently have cramping issues, you're like, I would love to help in some way. I mean, I don't know. I can't stop myself from cramping. I'm cramping right now as we speak, just talking about cramping. But you're right. Merrill Kelly did retire 16 consecutive batters in that game. That was a career high for Merrill. And yeah, man, I mean, he's been excellent for this team, and they can't really afford to lose him. Zac Gallen, meanwhile, has become the wild card for this team, the most inconsistent pitcher. Just really, when you look up and down the roster, we've talked about Brandon Pfaadt, we've talked about even Erod. You know what you're going to get out of those guys. You know that they're going to give you a chance to win. They're not going to necessarily go out and dazzle, even though Erod did have 12 strikeouts in a game and Brandon Pfaadt has been incredible at times. You know you're going to get a quality start, but they're going to get some runs allowed, and you expect that. With Zac, it can be one of the greatest pitching performances you've ever seen, and then the next night or next outing, Zac gives up 6. He gives up, whatever. And like, I don't really know. I still have two sides of me, one that like looks at this analytically and wonders what's wrong with him, and then another side that's like the more human side of me that feels very bad because I want Zac Gallen to have success, and I want this to be a big year for him. It's an important season, one of the most important seasons of his entire life. And I just, I don't know, man. I just really feel bad that he really can't find it, considering that when you talk about consistency, he was Mr. Consistency at one point for this team, setting a Major League Baseball record in that category, essentially.
Yeah, 2022 and 2023, Zac Gallen was unbelievable. 2022, he has a sub 2.5 ERA and over 180 innings. And I think he finishes top 5 in back-to-back seasons in Cy Young voting in 22 and 23. I do think there's a part of me where that thinks that 2023, the postseason run, throwing over 240 innings combined, did impact him for 2024. And I don't know if there's been an impact for 2025, if it's wear and tear, mechanically something's not right. But he just doesn't look like the same guy he has been. But I do think the biggest stat for Zac Gallen and his issues, it's just been throwing strikes. I just looked it up as you're talking about Gallen. Currently, Zac Gallen ranks dead last, 89th out of qualified pitchers in strike percentage, and dead last in that same group when ahead in count. So not only is he not throwing strikes, but when he does throw strikes and gets ahead against batters, he doesn't throw strikes again. So he's been nibbling and not been able to consistently throw strikes, which then raises your pitch count and then hurts the bullpen, and it becomes an entire domino.
So is that a control issue? I mean, does that go beyond command? Because it's not like he's just missing, right? It seems to be like he can't really be deceptive, but then when he does come in the strike zone, he's not really fooling anyone. Like, it doesn't, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I would go for, so that was obviously the numerical standpoint. Going through like my eye test and just my opinion and no fact alone, I think he's been really struggling with the fastball command. And when he's out of the zone with his fastball, it sets up hitters to think, all right, the knuckle curve's coming. And when they're thinking knuckle curve, as much of a deceptive pitch as it can be, they're going to sit on it and they can hit that low pitch in the zone and drive.
Yeah.
So the fastball,
if you know it's coming, you can sit on it. It's not going to fool you. But if he has that fastball working, it makes you look like a fool because of the movement on the pitch and the way that it especially coming out of his arm angle. It looks exactly like the fastball. He does a great job. with the knuckle curve. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things that with Zac, it feels frustrating. It's once again another situation where you thought this starting rotation, which is still very good. I am not going to knock this rotation. The ERA be damned of this of this starting rotation, because everybody else feels pretty locked in here as we stand. Corbin Burns, even though he's not getting much run support and hasn't had things go necessarily his way, is still putting up some good outings and has given this team a chance to win when he's been out there on the mound lately. It's really just been Zac Gallen and the lack of knowing what you're going to get out on any given night from him. We do have this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to make one quick point on Burns from that Friday game that he pitched in that offensive onslaught. I give credit to him. He didn't look great again with the cutter, was still a little inconsistent, but the wind was blowing out. And for him to give up only 2 runs in that game and be truly quality, that's a pitcher going through it and being able to still pitch a game, like pitch a decent game. Some would even say a quality game. When he doesn't have his best stuff, he still looks okay and serviceable. So just imagine when his stuff is working, hopefully later in the season, sooner rather than later. We've
seen his cutter at times working, and when it does, it's sexy. It gets people out. It gets outs. And so, like, you're right about that. He right now he's struggling a bit, but if I told you someone went 6 innings and gave up 2 earned runs, like, that's never going to be a bad day at the office. Even in a loss due to a lack of run support, that is not a bad day on the mound for the starting pitcher for sure. But we do have the numbers from this series, and Dalton, I'm just going to warn you now to avert your eyes at these ERAs that you're going to come seeing, because this is pretty gross. Cubs outscored the Diamondbacks in the series 21-16. The Cubs hit 7 home runs to the Diamondbacks 4. Almost all of those occurred in the first game. The Cubs had 5, Diamondbacks had 2. Diamondbacks and Cubs each had 2 more in game 2, and then no home runs on Sunday. Runners in scoring position, Diamondbacks were 10 for 33 to the Cubs 9 for 37. Not great there for either team. Lots of opportunities. Mostly their game 1 they were able to convert, but the rest of the series were not. Diamondbacks went 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position in game 2. They were 4 for 14 with runners in scoring position in game 3. Starting ERA 4.58 there for the Diamondbacks, 1.98 for the Cubs. Outstanding job by the Cubs starters, even though they didn't go very long. They all gave up 1 earned run in their outings. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks really just had Zac Gallen's outing that ballooned that ERA. He gave up 6 earned runs in 6 innings pitched. Relief pitching ERA, that's gross. And all of that, again, that comes from that Friday night game. For the majority, the Diamondbacks did not allow or did not give up a run the rest of the series. Neither did the Cubs, in fact. The bullpens both were great in games 2 and games 3. So I know they had that or extra innings thing with them giving up some runs. But, this wasn't a great series for the Diamondbacks, but overall some changes have been made. They've adapted, and hopefully we see this team, kind of get stronger. This bullpen has been a surprise. It's been a very pleasant surprise. However, we did know that there were components of the bullpen that hadn't been performing as well as the other guys that have been brought on, or someone like Justin Martinez, and even Ryan Nelson. Like, I put Ryan Nelson in that group of the guys that were performing well up until that game on Friday. It's just some sort of change was needed, and the Diamondbacks made it maybe one day too late, but still end up making it.
The only thing I would counter is that I think I give Torrey some slack, and I give him some semi-credit, but no blame. So I don't give him slack for Friday because his bullpen plan went to crap when Ryan Nelson struggled and Mantiply and Jarvis had to come in. I do, however, give him slack for the usage of the bullpen in the Miami series, where there were a couple situations.
Yes, you are perfectly within reason to do that. I think I did that on Friday as well. I was like, if you're going to criticize Torrey, you should criticize him for the fact that there were games that they had no business having their high leverage guys in when they had a decent size lead, and they end up doing that, and that costs them when they are in a close game against a very good Cubs team. And looking ahead at the schedule, you probably should have thought about that and game planned a little better for that.
And I understand wins are wins. You got to beat the person who's in front of you, sure. But there's a world where we're 5 months down the road, if my math could be wrong there, but like the Cubs are going to be a pretty darn good team. And no offense to that team in Miami, they are going to be struggling. They are going to be in the bottom of the NL East. They're not going to be competing for October this season. And quite frankly, this was a situation where the Diamondbacks, it could come be a tiebreaker for the NL wildcard if, say, like the Brewers somehow win the NL Central and the Cubs fall out of it. If Diamondbacks and Cubs are fighting for a wildcard spot, the Cubs now have the tiebreaker. And going into it, it was a 2-2 series. Started a 4-game set. The Arizona Diamondbacks started opening series was versus the Cubs 4-game set. These 3 games were a valuable 3 or 2 to win. Sadly, they lose 2 of them. They don't have the tiebreaker anymore. And I think that all stems from the usage of the bullpen in Miami. And then domino effect Friday, complete shit disaster.
Yep. I have a super chat here from Bees. Our guy Bees in the chat says, can we talk about the Reds Orioles 24-2 insanity? Talk about wanting to flush a game. How do you mentally recover from losing 24-2? I just can't imagine the energy there in the Orioles clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, in the office, we're talking about it a little bit because it was a big Yankee day because I think Gary Sanchez and Jorge Mateo both pitched for the Orioles in that game, in that 24-2 game. So that is saying something where you're having former Yankee position players pitch for a team. That's never a good sign. Baltimore, they are horrendous in the rotation so far. I believe their ERA minus is in like the 158 range. And doing research, I believe that was currently the worst ranking in the 21st century through 22 games in a season so far. So Baltimore has been atrocious. And my quick rant on that is, hey, you addressed the rotation by not getting our guy Corbin Burns back. You went with a 42-year-old Charlie Morton and a 1-year deal for Tomoyuki Sagano, who is an older pitcher. I think he's 35, coming from Japan. He's not really a strikeout pitcher. And then the rest of your crew who's banged up. Grayson Rodriguez is hurt. Eflin, supposed to be the ace, is hurt. That rotation is right now on life support, and we are not even through April yet.
Well, and I ask you this because I know it's a different situation, but do you think the Diamondbacks position players have a hard time bouncing back from what happened on Friday? Or, I mean, do you think that it gives them some confidence that at least they were able to mount a comeback and make it into what it, and like, it wasn't really on them that they lost the game, right? So it's like, I know it's disheartening. I think we had a great comment about that on Friday about how disheartening it must be to those position players that fought so hard to come back and make that a game and take the lead. But I don't know if that really makes you lose confidence in yourself. I feel like it still has to at least make this team feel like no deficit is insurmountable.
I think it's two things can be true from this. One, I think it's deflating for a team as a whole, not just for the position player, but as a team, where you're coming back down 6 runs in a game. You put up a 10 spot in the 8th inning, and yet you still manage to lose by multiple runs in that same game. That is heartbreaking and deflating. And I think everyone had a little bit of a hangover the following day. I think, like you said, they went 0 for and runs batting with runners in scoring position on Saturday. So I think there was a hangover effect in Saturday. But that said, I think it also shows the answer backs are the answer backs. And regardless of the deficit, regardless if they're home or away, regardless of who's on the mound, they can do it. They have been the best offense in late game situations, and they continue to prove it. So I think both can be true. It might have been deflating in the moment, but for the long run, hey, we can come back regardless of the situation.
Well, Dalton, I appreciate your time, buddy. Thank you so much for stopping by. I will see you again next week. And until then, go Snakes, and appreciate you. Make sure to check out him, D Feely 14. Check out everything they do over there at John Boy, because they are always putting out some incredible content. And let Jimmy know that I watch the lip reading of the Torey Lovullo ejection at least once a day, just to fill my soul up with happiness and joy. So thank him for that, and thank you again for your time, buddy.
Of course, Derek, Kev, always a pleasure. Go Snakes. Let's go 6-0 this week. Why not?
Let's go. Why not? I like that. That's the attitude to have. Great week. All right, I'll see you soon, buddy. All right, well, we appreciate you guys so much, of course, for stopping by. We appreciate you always in the chat. And on the other side of this break, you know what day it is. I couldn't miss Mailbag Monday for the world, no matter how drunk and hungover I am. So on the other side of this break, we are going to talk about all of your Mailbag Monday questions and more. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Of course, our friends at Cornbread Hemp make some of the finest USDA organic THC gummies you can find. And in fact, it's America's first ever USDA organic THC gummy. Why is that important? Because so many people care about what they put in their body. And let's be honest, with some of the way that this entire THC culture has moved real fast, you're never sure. You want to make sure you're putting a quality product in. And of course, grown right in Kentucky, Cornbread Hemp makes some of the finest THC gummies you can find. Of course, it's also a great way to enjoy a healthier happy hour instead of taking on all those calories and alcohol content like I did this weekend. You can use a natural and healthier way to experience those carefree moments you're looking for, especially after a hard day at work. So Cornbread's THC gummies offer a balanced sense of happiness and relaxation. And let me tell you, they are quite tasty as well. So check them out right now. If you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They created that first ever USDA organic THC gummy that's 100% legal. And a special offer for PHNX listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX and use code PHNX at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX and use code PHNX for 30% off your order. That's off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. And of course, if you are looking to sell your home and maybe move into your dream home, you got to check out the Carol Royce team, your home sold guaranteed realty. They will help you not only find a home, but Carol is so confident that she will be able to do so for you. She will guarantee to sell your home for 100% of market value, or she'll pay you the difference. Sometimes this selling process of your home can be intimidating. It can be scary. You don't really know at times if offers are worth taking. And of course, you need a good manager in your corner. Let Carol Royce be that for you. If you're considering a cash offer, don't settle for one. Get up to 6 of the best offers, with at least one being at 100% of market value, or Carol will pay the difference. Call Carol Royce today if you're looking to sell that home at 480-776-5231, or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com and tell them the good folks at PHNX sent you. That's carolroyceteam.com. Terms and conditions apply. Well, after Friday's game, maybe our year might be a little bit strong, but it doesn't matter, because if you are unfamiliar with the rules on this show, every year on this show is our year. Every year on this show is the year of the snake. Every single month is WrestleMania month. Every single week is WrestleMania week, and every single day is day 2 of WrestleMania. That's the only way I can see this. But of course, you know what we do on Mondays. Every single Monday, we go to the mailbag. Kevin, let's go to the mailbag.
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow. My mailbox.
All right, what do we got here? Okay, this cactus light behind me will never be turned on. I just want you guys to know that. Lawrence is asking, turn on the cactus light. We got Elizabeth chanting, cactus light, cactus light, cactus light. Never. I will never turn that cactus light on. I don't know why I'm being so aggressive about this. What do we got in the mailbag, Kevin? What do you got for me?
First up, Travis Moore. It feels like we're still seeing more defensive miscues than we used to this season. Am I imagining that, or is it true? If so, what can be done?
You are absolutely not imagining that, Travis. That is definitely the case with this team this year. The Diamondbacks have not been defensively solid. They have not been the team that we are used to seeing. And again, I do think that, in my personal opinion, not to put blame on new coaches like Sean Larkin, it's just Tony Perez-Chica was a part of this team for a long time. And I think he set, as far as Torey discusses or brings up, he set a standard for the defense here. It's not to say Dave McKay or Sean Larkin don't have a similar standard. I still think that we are in the first month of baseball. I know it started in March, but we're still within that 30-day span of the first month of baseball. I think there's a lot of growing pains. These moves, these transactions to add coaches and change the team happen quickly. And the changes aren't just the fact that we have new coaches there, right? Or a new coach over there at third base. The change is also the fact that we have Pavin Smith or Josh Naylor over at first base. It's no discredit to them, but they are no Christian Walker defensively. Right now, we're missing Ketel Marte there in the middle, and Tim Towers did a good job. Garrett Hampson has been there and existed, and they're not the good defensive team that they've been in the past, right? So I think that the changes are part of it. I think this team still has, some connecting to do, but I also think, there's some other factors too, right? Like Gino, no matter how bad his bat was last year, was incredible defensively for this team over at third base, and he hasn't really been that so far this year. So we've seen him had some defensive miscues himself. I think that, again, this is something that this team prides themselves on. This is something that they work very hard towards and make sure, their fundamentals defensively are a big part of what makes, this team's makeup, their characteristic. It doesn't, just because you say that though, doesn't make it true, right? Like, there's things that have to happen. And I think, again, they're still coming together overall. But what else we got?
A little bit of an impromptu mailbag question, but Elizabeth wants to know, why does Derek hate the cactus light? And some people want to know, like, why you hate the chat. What happened to our mayor? He won't eat spicy wings or turn on the cactus light. So what's wrong with you, Derek?
Well, I'll tell you the truth is that bookcase behind me is a bookcase and it's not a media shelf. So in order for that cactus light to work, someone would have to drill a hole through the back of it and pull the light through. Now, looking at the roster that PHNX has, I want you to take a guess on who would be volunteered for that project. Would it be Kevin with his 6 shows? Would it be Damon? Would it be Shane, who doesn't know how to put an anchor in a wall? Absolutely not. It would be me, and I don't want to undertake more projects around here. So there, I hope that answer suffices. What else we got, Kevin?
That does suffice. Next question. The basketball and football guy wants to know. He says, I'm calling BS on Martinez needing to rest after not working 2 days straight and having an off day the next day. What are the reasons why Martinez not be available, as Torrey said he wasn't injured?
Arm fatigue, because dead arm that we talked about earlier is not an injury, even though it sounds like a very, very scary one. Dead arm sounds worse than needing Tommy John surgery, but it just is more of a fatigue factor. And he's right. Trevor May did an excellent job at breaking that down. But as far as his video was concerned, he just talked about basically not getting enough time off, right? And so what this entails isn't necessarily Justin Martinez's workload in games, right? It might just be the fact that players today don't stop, right? There's a reason why baseball players back in the 70s used to kind of look the way they did, and I'm talking about around the midsection. It's because baseball is a game that historically has involved a lot of rest in order for you to be at your best and in order for you to recover from a long 162-game season, right? So sometimes it's not about being in the best physical condition, because being in the best physical condition requires you to work out all the time, every single day, have a strict workout regimen. Sometimes that might just involve something as simple as playing catch, and maybe that simple action of that extra effort, that extra workload is too much, especially for a young arm that's being kind of asked to do a lot, right? So I don't have a good explanation, because like Dalton said, typically these things happen in spring training when they're ramping up, and maybe they ramped up too fast and that fatigue sets in, or it usually happens later in the season, around July, August, and it's when you've pitched already 80, 90 games and your arm is just kind of screaming at you to give it a break, right? So that's where we're at right now, but we definitely I think it's not a super negative thing. I don't think it's as bad as what's going on, obviously, with AJ Puk, where, again, we found out from John Gambadoro, we found out from, I think, from the Diamondbacks too, or from Nick Picoro, that he is having an MRI done today. The results of that MRI are going to determine what the next steps are for AJ Puk, and hopefully those next steps don't require that long-term surgery that loses him for a period of time. But we are in that danger zone right now. That's the unfortunate part of what's going on with him right now. What else we got, Kev?
Next up, Austin wants to know, Jordan Lawler time? Please bring us news on this.
Well, I wish I could. I wish I had more information for you. Again, I hate baseball because of things like this. I hate baseball as a whole because things are kind of baked into this process, and part of it is the service time situation, which I don't necessarily think is impacting this situation with Jordan Lawler, but it could be. It could be the fact that the Diamondbacks at this point don't want to turn to Lawler with essentially Ketel Marte returning here in the next 2 weeks. At least that's the plan. Fingers crossed. But it's hard. How do you continue to ignore what Jordan Lawler is doing for the Reno Aces? How do you continue to ignore the fact that Jordan Lawler has moved over to second base and has been playing there? He had another 3-for-5 night last night with a double, a home run, and 2 RBI. And I mean, honestly, he's been incredible. And he hit a home run that I wish we could show on this program right now because it was 435 feet and it went to the moon. So I feel like Lawler is really starting to catch fire right now. The Diamondbacks could use that. And of course, people are excited to get Jordan Lawler up here. Why won't they do it? Because what do you do with Jordan Lawler when Ketel Marte returns in 2 weeks? Send him back down? So what? We had 2 weeks with him? Well, you're not going to leave him on the bench and make him a utility infielder like you would with Garrett Hampson or even Tim Tawa. You're not going to go over and have him share playing time with Gino, even though that honestly wouldn't be the worst idea considering how Gino is struggling right now. But that's the problem, is not what you do with Jordan Lawler in the meantime while Marte is out with injury. It is the fact of what do you do with him when you return. Yeah, Lawler can play utility. That doesn't matter. Despite the fact that Torrey would still find plenty of time for him to get playing time in here, it's more about him playing every single day and him continuing his development. They don't want him to sit on the bench. They don't want him to be a utility infielder. They want Jordan Lawler, when he comes to the Arizona Diamondbacks team, to play every single day. They might still pull the trigger on this. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. I'm just saying, just as a playing devil's advocate, what do you do with him when Ketel returns? And that's really what it comes down to. Piece of Yoshi says, I honestly don't think Lawler would be hitting that much better than Tawa in Ketel's absence because of the adjustment. Right. Yeah, like it's also, you look at what he's doing, you look at what his numbers are this season, and yeah, it's really easy to get excited about Lawler having a 325 average so far, but it's Reno, right? And if you look at some of his other teammates, he does have other teammates who are hitting 313, 295, 310. So there's a lot of guys. Trey Mancini is hitting 310 for the Reno Aces, and that guy deserves to be on a major league roster, quite frankly, at this point. But again, there is that adjustment to major league hitting, and there is the fact that you have a very, tight window as far as when he would come up and how he would perform and what they would do with him after Ketel Marte returns. I'm not saying that that's not something that I would like to see. I would love to see that, but I just think that Jordan Lawler is the future of this team, probably at third base, and that's where, that I guess the confusion for me is, I know that he's good at shortstop. I know he's good at third base. So getting him time at second makes sense to help round him out. But it did kind of coincide with this injury of Ketel Marte. Like Jordan Lawler was playing second base right at the same time that the Marte injury happened, or that's when he started playing second base. So that's a little suspicious. That makes me feel like maybe they're trying to see, maybe they wanted to kick the tires on that. But I don't know. I don't know how that situation is going to play out. I just don't think we're going to see them make that move. And we have so much more to talk about on the other side of this break. It's Mailbag Monday. We got a million questions. We're not going anywhere. You don't go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Please make sure that you don't leave town like I did to go have yourselves a great time at a casino. Go check out Gila River Resorts and Casinos. It is the place here in town for you to have probably a better time than I did and do it without having to travel in a car for 5 hours. Make sure to join us on April 24th for the Cardinals Draft Day Watch Party. You can join Bo, Johnny, and your fellow PHNX Cardinal diehards for a wonderful evening over there at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass in the Upper Deck Bar and Grill for an unforgettable NFL draft party and live show presented by our friends at Circle K and Gila River. Your ticket includes entrance to the Upper Deck Bar and Grill and PHNX Cardinals live show. Also includes an all-you-can-eat buffet from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. drink tickets for the 21 and over crowd, raffle tickets for great giveaways. And of course, as always, with all of our events, you diehards, you wonderful diehards, get 20% off of those events. So you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details, and make sure to go check out their wonderful casinos right here in town because their roulette tables are fancier than anything I saw in Las Vegas, and I'm not even lying about that. So check out Gila River Resorts and Casinos for sure. Also, if you don't want to travel that far, but you do want to place some bets on some sporting events and have yourself a great time, you do you at, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary. Bet365. I'm getting my catchphrases mixed up, but that's because Bet365 is the place for live in-game betting. I don't even really like placing my bets at sports books any longer because it involves me waiting in a line to get a ticket cashed in, and I don't need to do that with Bet365. I can have my winnings instantly once they pay out and just transfer them over to my bank account without having to wait in any line. Bet365 does offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting, and that is across 78 sports. They help pioneer live in-game betting as well. So new customers right now can get down on their bonus bets with our offer, with our PHNX 365 code. All you got to do is get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 or more, win or lose. Sign up, use that code at PHNX 365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 or more to get $150 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Well, for those of you watching on television or your desired apps, make sure to come on over to gophnx.com. We're going to be continuing this conversation after the end of the hour. And again, like I said, we have so many more Mailbag Monday questions to get to, and we got to get going on that. Kevin, what do you got for me?
Next up, Candace with a two-parter.
No, get this off my screen. Candace doesn't get a two-part question.
One
that is a lot.
Is the new pitching coach and thus the new pitching strategy to blame for the fact that our starting pitchers are constantly working behind in the counts from them trying to pick at the bottom of the zone, thus leading them to throw pitches in the zone late in counts and having hard hit percentages, Gallen 41, Morillo 45, Fott 42, Burns 50, above league average?
Well, let's start with that one. No, I do not think a pitching coach or a pitching strategy is to blame for this. Now, yes, again, just like the Sean Larkin situation, this is a new pitching coach, one who loves biomechanics. Was it biomechanics, right? And, again, there might be maybe some tinkering perhaps being done with their delivery or things like that. But that's not really different. We know that last year Brent Strom also did something similar with guys. I think it's part of working with a new pitching coach. There's also some growing pains there. I just don't know if this is any kind of deliberate strategy, right? This isn't something that necessarily is to blame on the coach, which I was going to talk about this with Dalton, but I still feel like this is something that is far too common with this team right now, is blaming coaches for the lack of performance by the players. I think we should very much focus on the fact that, pitch selection and other things are determined by the pitching coach a bit. Maybe some of the tinkering does lead to this, but I just have a feeling that some of this might be, just the way that baseball tends to go. I've watched a lot of baseball, and I know that there are often anomalies where guys that used to be very good aren't any longer. Some of the things that change over the course of time involve, again, losing that ability to do the things you used to do. If you're able to locate really well, that's not something necessarily that every pitcher can do for an extended period of time throughout their career, right? It's baseball, right? I think with Zac Gallen, for instance, the frustrating part about it is the fact that consistency was a big part of what he brought to this team when they first acquired him in that trade for Jazz Chisholm. And it just very much feels like, that's not the case. He, like Dalton said, he's been getting behind in counts early, and I don't know. I feel like that's more of a confidence issue myself with, attacking the zone. And that's something I doubt that the pitching coach is not wanting them to do, right? All right, what else we got? She got a second part of the question, right?
Yes, indeed. Part 2 of Candace's question is, why can't we see Grichuk get a start in the outfield to save a left-handed bat for later in the game? He is hitting better than Gurriel, and you will still have an extra outfielder with him on the bench. And maybe it will give Torrey a chance to break up the lefties at the top of the order and have some more opportunities with guys on for Naylor and even Suarez.
Well, as much as I would like to say yes to that, I still think that at the end of the day, they're going to play the pitching matchups. And maybe you're right. Grichuk probably deserves some more playing time. But so far this year, his splits kind of prove. Now, it's in the smallest sample size you can imagine, Kevin and Candace. So I'm not going to act like this says anything about him. But, you know, Randall Grichuk this year he's slashing 304, 385, 522 with a 906 OPS against left-handed pitching. And he is slashing 200, 200, 400 with a 600 OPS against right-handed pitching. However, he's only had 5 at-bats against right-handed pitching. So I don't know if that sample size is enough to say that he is not good against right-handed pitching. If you take a look last year of his splits, again, he didn't get much playing time against right-handed pitching, but the splits are also there against right-handed pitching last year. You have a 319 average, 386, 528 with a 914 OPS against left-handers, and then a 242, 274, 528 slug with an 801 OPS against right-handers. So he did a great job against righties. Like, that's the 801 OPS is fine, but he is significantly better against left-handed pitching, and it feels like the Diamondbacks plan to continue to use him for that. So it's always going to be matchup based. But in regards to him starting in the outfield, I don't know. We haven't seen much of him, and from what we've seen, he's able to get the job done. So I don't really have much of an answer for you on that. But I'm sure as the season progresses, we'll see more of Grichuk out there in the outfield for sure. What else we got, Kevin?
Next up, Karen with a C wants to know, do we have any more left-handed pitchers ready to bring up? Tommy Henry is on the 40-man roster. And then in relation to our last time we spoke with Karen, she says, and yes, I have air conditioning. I don't want to be mistaken for all those, quote, Karens out there.
Oh, all right. That's definitely a good thing. You got to differentiate yourself from the Karens with a K, right? You don't want to be a part of that group, unfortunately.
Have to.
By the way, let's just address that for a moment. Imagine how awful it must be for your name to suddenly become some sort
I can't even imagine.
Terrible nickname for awful women. I don't know. But yeah, no, I mean, this is a situation with the Diamondbacks' top prospects where they do have some guys in their system. It's just a matter of how ready they'll be. Yu-Min Lin, left-handed pitcher, he's going to be stretched out and stay a starter. Let's see. Daniel Egan's been shoving lately. He's a righty. Spencer Giesting, there's a name that you might want to know. I know he's been having some success at minor league level. However, he's just with the Amarillo Assad Poodles right now. So not really close, not somebody that you could look to. And then, of course, we also know Blake Walston is lost for the season due to Tommy John surgery himself. So when you're talking about the Diamondbacks' top prospects, no, there's not a lot there. There's not a lot of left-handed pitchers that are ready to get called up. Again, going back to what the Diamondbacks did during the offseason, it's a big reason why they added Jalen Beeks when that opportunity provided itself, and that is very much a welcome sight at this point. I don't know where the Diamondbacks would be without Jalen Beeks. Let's see. We also have Michael Perry asking, how's that Murillo, a strikeout reliever, just saying AAA? Murillo just got called up. So Juan Morillo, or Murillo, is on the currently on the roster and currently on the Major League club, and hopefully continues to perform well. What else we got there, Kev?
I got to give you an opportunity to defend yourself against possible beef with Groundhog Mama, because we were talking about Karens in general, and Groundhog Mama is named Karen.
With a K.
With a K.
For good reason.
Elizabeth says she's going to sing Groundhog Mama after you.
Just for good reason.
And that you started beef.
Right. For good reason. Sometimes you're appropriately named, is all I'm saying. Go ahead. What do we got?
Wow.
I'm just attacking. I'm taking
he's a
the
heel
boat.
today, folks. Gabriel says, what do I even do in my life during off days?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for this question. I hate off days too. I can't recommend road trips just because Road trips are fun on the way out, not so fun on the way back. Defeating, demoralizing, coming back to normal life. I did not want to spend one more day in Las Vegas, Kevin.
That's how it is.
I couldn't get out of that city fast enough. However, I am more upset about the good times being over. The good times with the lads. I'm going to miss the boys. I'm going to miss fitting 3 of us in a hotel room with only 2 king-size beds. And I'm very much going to miss staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning and eating food around 2:30 that I have no business eating, and I'm going to regret the entirety of the next day. But I don't know. I think that really off days are rare occurrences. So go find yourself something to do. There's lots of good shows out there, lots of good streaming services. You could follow Kendrick Lamar's advice and turn the TV off and go outside, enjoy the weather while it was nice, because that's over now. It's going to be hot and terrible for the rest of 6 months, for the next 6 months. It's going to be bad. But anyway, that's all I got on that. That's all I got what to do with an off day. Be productive. Go fix something around your house. I have lots of things I need to fix. What else we got?
Tucson Dbacks wants to know, if we go 4-4 to end April, that will be the magical 15-11. Did we pick a final hair color just in case?
I did not commit to any of this. Did not commit to any kind of record in April. What I committed to was Gino Suarez hitting 50 bombs, and I'm feeling very confident about that. I think I was feeling so confident at one point that I changed it to 40 home runs.
You did.
So the current total is Gino hitting 40 home runs will get my beard dyed teal. Is that right?
Correct, the mundo.
Okay. Yes. So that's where we're at. I will not be dyeing anything, any color, just because the Diamondbacks had a winning record in April. Quite frankly, they should have a winning record in April. When you look at the teams they faced, the Chicago Cubs team was one of the toughest teams they had to face. They still have a couple of tough battles here. They had no business losing to the Washington Nationals, 2 out of 3. And, they have a chance to finish strong and again, make it out of the month with a positive record that doesn't look so bad. But May is a tough month, and this division isn't getting any easier. However, unfortunately, things are happening, and Diamondbacks are able to kind of stay in the hunt here. The NL West finally stopped being unstoppable, but here we go. We got a lot of games still to win, and hopefully the Diamondbacks can get the job done. What else we got? We got to set up the Cactus light. That's what they want me to do on my off day. No, I'm not going to do that. The Cardinal, it's not coming on. This Cactus light isn't coming on. I don't know why you would put a Cactus light on a set and not plug it in, but I think
that's kind of their point, to be honest with you.
I mean, I'm with them on that. I'm not anti-Cactus light, but what I'm going to do is make that Cactus light disappear, and you're never going to see that Cactus light again as long as you live. I am continuing my heel streak because I am tired, and John Cena just made me feel like I don't need to be nice in order to be liked. Everybody was cheering him last night despite the awful things he said about children. So you're going to boo Cody, you can boo Kevin and cheer me for my terribleness. What else we got, Kevin? I don't know. I'm tired.
Yoshi wants to know, what do we think of the broadcast little highlight reels for certain players when they're due up? I always thought they were a little bit much, especially for the guys like Naylor, where it features highlights of them on a different team. Maybe I'm out of touch, though. Maybe
you are out of touch. I will never be anti-highlight package. I will never be anti-highlight reel. I will say, though, no, like he is right, though, about it being every time they come up to bat, right? Like, that might be excessive. Like maybe in the first at bat for each guy, you show something like that, but maybe.
I feel like you also can't have them on the other team. Like if you don't have any renders of them in the current jersey,
that's just lazy.
You just can't do it.
That's lazy. How do we not have Josh Naylor highlights? This man stealing bases and hitting bombs in Miami. He hit 3 back-to-back home runs. Like just show those. Just crack. That's all I need is to see that, and that will fire me up. I'll be ready for Josh Naylor time. Psycho time. I don't know. I'm not anti video package. I will say maybe some people feel like it's setting them up for failure. Maybe they feel like the broadcast is cursing them by showing that video package. And to you, I say, do you still believe in magic? Is all I really wanted to know. I definitely don't believe in magic anymore. Those days are over. All right, what else you got?
Chris in Phoenix says, will Derek be lucid and sober for today's show?
No.
after last night's and his weekend's escapades. Also, what is the latest status of his hall pass?
Okay.
Oh wow,
Chris.
Oh wow.
That's personal information. Hall passes on a case-by-case basis. That's all I'm going to address that for. And I'll also say, as Kevin pointed out to me in my DMs, he's over here antagonizing me that Stephanie Vaquer was in the same city as I was at the same time. La Primera.
Breathing the same Vegas air.
Breathing the same air as me. So I behaved myself. I did not use my hall pass, but I could have. And I will also say that my wife is awesome. I did have a great time. No, I'm not sober. No, I'm not lucid. I don't know if I'll ever be again. This weekend might have broken me, but I did have a very good time. And I will say again that it's for me, it's about seeing my friends. I got to see my buddy Josh that I don't get to see much from Idaho. I also got to go just be a man child in Las Vegas. And yeah, we had a very fun time. And we behaved ourselves, kind of. What else we got?
Last but not least, Hanley says, what stood out from WrestleMania 41?
Ooh. There was, I mean, I will say that the spectacle of WrestleMania is something to behold. The stage setup, everything they did, the fireworks, the pageantry, it was all great. From a fan perspective, there were a lot of things that were kind of a letdown, and there were other things that were a lot of fun to watch. I will say I have been from the days where WrestleMania was one night. So
make it one night again.
The financial burden on a lot of people was kind of the problem. I felt I don't feel like either night was strong enough for them to not trim some of the fat from both of those nights, some of those matches that they didn't need to have, and just combine it into one night. They'll never do that again. As long as they can charge people for two separate nights, WrestleMania will always be two nights like it is from now until the end of time. I think that's my problem, is overall this felt very much like a large cash grab. And I know a lot of these events are. That's the purpose of it. You had nearly $250 million spent by fans in the city of Las Vegas, yet a business magazine still felt like that was like nothing. That's a drop in the bucket as far as tourism for the city of Vegas is concerned, right? But you had a lot of people come into town, spend a lot of money, go to these events. And I think that like we've lost our way a little bit on, you know, ticket prices and people going to events and how much money companies are making off of this. That was my big takeaway. I was very glad I didn't get to go because the price of tickets, no matter which ticket was available to me, did not seem reasonable for the amount of money I was spending for the experience, right? If you are somebody that's never gone to WrestleMania and this was your first time, then lo and behold, like, please enjoy yourself. Go do the thing. I have been to 6 WrestleManias. There are certain things about it, like spending $400 on a nosebleed seat where I'm not even kidding you. The screen itself was like this big. Instead, I sat for free poolside and watched it on a gigantic screen and had a great time with my friends, and the drinks were cheaper and the scenery was better. And I didn't find myself stuck inside of a building, overpaying for food and drinks, and not really enjoying myself as much because I was in seats that were very, very, very far away from the action, right? So, and I'll also say this. I love WrestleMania week because of all of the events that go on around it. It's just, that's what's weird about it, is like no other event. You wouldn't go for, you know, to Tennessee for Bristol to see the race and not go to the race and just go to auxiliary, you know, race events around it. You wouldn't do that for the Super Bowl. You wouldn't go into town for the Super Bowl, but not go to the Super Bowl. It sounds crazy. WrestleMania is one of those weird things where like this entire weird wrestling world moves into the town that wrestling, you know, WrestleMania is taking place. They kind of take things over. They have all these events, and it's a lot of fun. It's great to go to some of the other events, do some of the stuff. We went to wrestling shows that started at midnight. I saw Brody Lee's son, Brody Lee Jr., win a Cluster F match. I'm not allowed to say what the actual match is called, but it was a big, long Royal Rumble that he essentially won at the end. I saw some craziness over the course of the weekend, had some great times with my friends. And again, it's like a weird world that kind of exists around WrestleMania that you can have a lot of fun in. I just met this mom at the show who was there. It was a show that started at midnight. It was called the Cluster F show. And there's a small child who was like 11 years old there with his mom. And I had to have a conversation with them because, one, I thought that mom was awesome for being there. I was like, you are Mother of the Year. And I asked the kid, I was like, what business do you have being at this show? And he told me that he asked for that for his birthday because his mom couldn't afford tickets to go to WrestleMania. And his mom pointed out to me the same thing I said. She didn't want to spend $800 on tickets for her and her son to go sit in some nosebleed seats that were so far away that you couldn't even see the screen, that was the big screen that you could see the matches on, let alone the matches themselves in the ring. She would much prefer to spend $50-$60 for this GCW show and take her kid to that. And they had a great time. And that kid got to see another kid almost his same age win the Royal Rumble at the end of the night. I bet he had a blast, watching that, right? But that's where I say I feel like we've lost our way with events like this. I know it's all about money and stockholders and share prices and all that stuff. TKO spent a godly amount of money on purchasing and acquiring WWE. They're going to make that money back, and they know how they can, right? That building was still packed with people paying $300 plus to go watch, that WrestleMania show over the course of 2 nights. It was 125,000 plus people that went over those 2 nights, right? So that's where, for me, I feel like wrestling, that's something that's supposed to be for kids and for younger people and for families to enjoy, has priced themselves in a direction where they're not for that anymore. So I don't know. I'm sounding like an old fuddy-duddy here. I guess at the end of the day, if you could charge those ticket prices and get people to pay for them, then do your thing, I guess. But I just feel like, there's an entertainment factor here, and I don't know if people are going to continue to pay that much to go to 2 nights for much longer, especially when you deliver a main event like you did between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And that is a discussion for a whole other show that most of you don't care about. But I will say, again, it's we went to All-Star Weekend, and there was a lot of events during All-Star Weekend. That's probably the most comparable thing I could say to this. Is there's lots of fun things to do. You can go to the home run derby, you can go to the futures game, you can do other stuff over the course of All-Star Weekend and not necessarily go to the All-Star game. You can have fun with other baseball fans and just enjoy yourself. Not to mention it's a vacation in a town that you might not have been to before, so you get a chance to enjoy the local, food and drinks and do other stuff, right? So that's probably it. Maybe that's why I like both baseball and wrestling. Both of those events kind of are as close as you can get to something that you would fly into town for and not go to the actual event. But let's see what Lawrence says. Speaking of cash grab, how much do I got to super chat you to get that sweet Cactus Light action? Damn it, Kevin, I'm going to go turn it on right now. I'm going to, I can't, because it's not. Can't do that. Sorry. Maybe next time, Lawrence. Save up some money and we'll chat, and you can super chat me, and we'll do that. Speaking of super chats, did I miss any before we get out of here, Kevin? Benjamin Hunley says, why do the 2020 Dbacks suck at base running? I do not know. I don't have an answer for you on that. Again, maybe that's a little bit of Tony Perez-Chica not being there. Maybe it's a little bit of the game plan being out there, people knowing the Diamondbacks are going to try to create chaos and maybe really studying on, what they can do to stop it. I don't have a great answer for you on that, but I have a feeling like Corbin Carroll's base running is back. And I think as long as I feel like if Corbin can kind of set the standard there, you can set the pace, I think other guys will follow suit. Alec Thomas doesn't seem to have any lack of confidence in his ability to steal bases. And we also know Josh Naylor is a base stealing monster. So yeah, I'm with you though. I would love to see more base stealing, and I don't know why right now they are been so bad on the base path, not just in stealing bases, but running the base path, so for sure. So, but hey, I've talked way too long. I have no business doing this. I'm only contractually obligated to an hour, and this is more of my heel side coming out. My voice is done, my body is done, and I have nothing left to give. But I'm so glad you guys joined me today, and I promise you, Lawrence, I will get that goddamn Cactus Light turned on, but only if you follow me on Twitter. At least that's what I'm still calling it. I'll never call it X. Follow me there. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Kevin is at KevOPost. Make sure you follow him as well. Our show is at PHNX_Dbacks, but as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate you for your questions and you stopping by. said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it. Your time is your most valuable commodity. So thank you for sharing it with me. Thanks to Dalton for sharing his time with us as well. We will see you tomorrow for a post-game show. To make sure to join us for that after the Diamondbacks here go to take on who are they playing, Kevin?
The Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh God, that's right. At least it's at home and not in Tampa. So there's that. But love you guys. Appreciate you for your time again. We'll see you tomorrow. And until then, behave yourselves. Have a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when you don't lose one of your best left-handed relievers to injury.
We all silly like the mayor.